YouTubers, I'm really sorry we've been away for so long, but I've been fighting a cold for weeks, and my mom got sick over the holidays, was in the hospital for Christmas, and then I had to take care of her for a while after. She's doing much better, but just haven't really had time to make a video lately. So today we are going to make Katharine Hepburn's famous brownies. Now, if you don't know a lot about Katharine Hepburn, she was a little before my time, but she is Hollywood royalty. She made films like The African Queen, Philadelphia Story, Look Who's Coming to Dinner, and of course On Golden Pond, which is the one that I've certainly seen the most. So I heard she had some famous brownies, so I went searching for the recipe, and that's what we're going to make today. And on top of that, I am going to show you how to make the best chocolate glaze you've ever had in your life. I am almost ready to bet each one of you $1 that you will think that, but I really can't afford that. So let's go ahead and get started on our brownies. To make our brownies, you're going to need 2 ounces of baking chocolate. This is semi-sweet. You could also use milk chocolate or bittersweet if you prefer. 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 stick or 8 tablespoons of butter. I'm using unsalted butter. 1 cup of sugar, 2 eggs, and only 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. This is what's going to give it its nice gooey consistency. Let's go ahead and whip up our brownies. The first step is to a saucepan. I'm going to add my 2 ounces of chocolate and my 8 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to take this over to the stove and cook it at probably a medium-low heat until the butter and the chocolate have melted and is a nice smooth consistency. I transferred my butter and chocolate mixture to a little larger bowl here, and I'm going to now whisk in my 1 cup of sugar. The mixture will be a bit grainy. It does take a while for the sugar to dissolve, but it will dissolve as we work with this and add more of our wet ingredients. Next, I'm going to add my 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm going to whisk in about 1 egg at a time, and our 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. If you don't want to do this by hand, you could use a hand mixer. We just want to mix our flour in until it's well combined. We don't want to over mix our batter. Now that I've mixed my flour in, the original recipe called for 1 cup of walnuts. I despise walnuts, but if you do like walnuts, you could add 1 cup of walnuts, you could add pecans, you could add some chocolate chips, but I'm not going to add any of that. I'm going with it just like this. So I have buttered an 8x8 glass baking dish. You can also use a spray if you prefer. You could also line the bottom with like parchment paper so that you could pull your brownies out of the pan. Now we're just going to put our batter into our baking dish. Now we're going to bake this at 325 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes. That's going to make nice gooey brownies. If you'd prefer them to be a little more cake-like, you can bake them up to about 40 minutes until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. I'm going to bake them until the toothpick comes out with some nice moist crumbs on it. Our brownies just came out of the oven. They need to cool. That's how simple it is to make Katharine Hepburn's famous gooey brownies. But as Emerald Lagasse likes to say, we're going to kick this up a notch, maybe 2, by making a chocolate glaze for it once our brownies have cooled completely. To make the chocolate glaze, you're going to need 1/2 cup of whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of sour cream, 1/2 teaspoon of instant coffee. This is optional, but I would recommend it. It really brings out the chocolate flavor. 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 3/4 cup of sugar, a pinch of salt, a half a cup of cocoa powder, and 4 tablespoons of butter. The first step in our glaze is to this large measuring cup that has a half a cup of heavy whipping cream. I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of sour cream, my teaspoon of vanilla, and my half a teaspoon of instant coffee. And I'm just going to stir that all together. Once all your ingredients are combined, just set it aside for now. Next, to a saucepan, I'm going to add my 4 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just going to take this over to the stove to get my butter melted. Now that my butter has been melted, I'm going to whisk in my 3/4 cup of sugar, my pinch of salt, and my half a cup of cocoa powder. At this point, it's still really a grainy glob, but we're going to start now adding slowly our wet ingredients to it. Now that my wet ingredients have been incorporated, I'm going to take it back over to the stove and cook it on low heat for 3 to 4 minutes. It's not going to thicken up a whole lot, but this will warm it up and give it a smooth consistency. Now I'm going to pour my glaze over my brownies. This is enough glaze to do a 9 by 13 pan of brownies, so I'm not going to use quite all of it. Now this glaze is not going to firm up completely unless you put it into the refrigerator. So I'm going to do that. That way we'll get a cleaner cut on our brownies. And after it's set up, we'll take a look and do a taste test. Well, I got myself a brownie here for a little taste test. They are gooey. I love that. Wow. With that chocolate glaze, these are amazing. Katharine Hepburn won 4 Academy Awards. These definitely should win one too. You've got to try them. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you'll give Katharine Hepburn's brownies a try. If you don't want to make homemade brownies, make a box cake and make the chocolate glaze. You will be the hit of any dinner party. Please join our channel. You can click the link up above if you'd like. We hope to see you back soon.